Well, hello there, and welcome to the Couch Riffs Podcast, episode number 262. 262. And my guest, Mr. Tim DiJulio. Tim has been a fella that's been kicking around Seattle for what seems like forever. In fact, when I sort of clumsily landed in Seattle in February of 1993, I made my way down to the Rock Candy to see my very first club show in town. And that show was Lazy Susan, his former band, and Sweetwater. And that was the first of many shows there. And the first of many shows, many times I'd see Tim play guitar, and he is phenomenal. He's a hell of a sweet guy, and he's my sometime bandmate. So that's pretty exciting. It was a real pleasure getting to talk to Tim. Full disclosure, I'm still getting adjusted to the new podcast studio, and I made a world-class boo-boo, and we tracked the day before, and I messed up the audio. So we did this again the second day. So for one, Tim is a trooper. For two, dang it. There were so many great spontaneous conversations that happened the day before, and I didn't quite get us all the way there, but still, Tim is wonderful. What a guest. What a cool dude. Check out all of his bands. They're all referenced in the conversation. Follow him on Instagram, all the stuff. I hope that you enjoy this episode. If you are enjoying the Couch Riffs Podcast, please, by all means, get on over there to Patreon, patreon.com/couchriffs. Your Patreon support helps fund the new podcast studio. It helps fund all of the cover songs and the videos that will be getting created this year and beyond. They're next level. I don't know if you guys caught the cover song of P Cells, but Who's Buying? But it's a barn burner. It's killer. And, I would have found a way, but it sure helps keep me living indoors to have that Patreon support to help offset the very great cost of being able to do those things. So I really appreciate those folks who are supporting. Thank you so much. If you have been hesitating to support, here's your open invitation to get over there. Thank you so much. We're going to get into the conversation now. Don't forget the golden rule. You guys know the golden rule. The golden rule is treat people the way you want to be treated, right? It's so much easier than being a dick. Tim Guinea Pig DiJulio.
Yeah.
DiJulio means guinea pig in Italian.
It does on Sundays at 5 p.m. It means guinea pig. If you ask me on Tuesday, it means loud guitar player.
Tim, welcome back to the Couch Riffs Podcast.
Thank you for having me. This is great. I get to hang out with you on a Sunday evening. This is awesome.
Just more bonding time.
More bonding time. And
more bonding time for the boys.
Yeah.
And now we have a fern. When you were here, we didn't have plants.
No.
Or tables.
I know.
You could put your feet on them, probably.
It
seems sturdy.
This place is great, though. This is cool.
I'm pretty stoked. It's a pretty awesome resource. I gotta make the best of it.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, man. This is great.
Will you do me a favor and tell people who you are real quickly and briefly?
Sure. My name is Tim DiJulio. I live in Seattle, born and raised, and play electric guitar in many bands since the late 80s, and Lazy Susan was one of them, North Twin, recently Stereo Embers, and played in a band called Flight to Mars with Mike McCready, and played with Duff McKagan. Been honored to be in his bullpen recently, doing some stuff for him, and Danny Newcomb and the Sugar Makers. Lots of cool projects of the year. So kind of lately more of a gun for hire kind of a vibe.
You've known Danny forever. Like you were part
Danny
of
and Mike
that
and I, since 5th grade.
Crew. It's like the Friels.
The Friel brothers.
McCready, Danny.
Yeah, I knew Mike. Actually, I met Mike and Danny first in grade school time. I remember back in in Seattle when it snows like half an inch,
right.
The whole city shuts down. But this was back in grade school, and I don't know, it must have been early 70s. I remember it was one of those snow months where I don't think I went to school for a month. We shut down. It was 20 degrees, snowed, dumped. It was great.
Right.
And I was skiing. We were going up to the top of the hill by our house and made ski jumps, and then had our skis out. It was that much snow, and that's where I met Mike. Then we started cross countrying, and Danny was with him, and then years later I met them at Exide Middle School, and it was after school. There was this band Warrior. It may have been Shadow then. I don't think so. I think it was Warrior, and they played in a band. I had no idea. I'd never seen live music before in my life.
Did
that.
one of them sing?
They had Rob Weber, and I don't remember Rob singing. I think they just played big loud Marshalls and played like Zeppelin and UFO, and I just remember just being blown away by the sound, and it was amazing. And I want to know them, so I went from being kind of like being into sports to quickly like spending all my time looking for pictures of Randy Rhoads and Cream Magazine and stuff like that and whatever. So, anyways.
So you were part of that group of friends, but you didn't pick up the guitar for a long time.
No, music was my love since I was a little kid, but I really hit me then, like middle school, high school. I didn't pick up a guitar till senior in high school.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I wanted to just kind of learn a few chords. I want to learn a couple Bob Dylan tunes. We're hanging out in the summer by we had a place called the Dock we went to, and we'd go swimming by the Friel's house, and we would all go there after school or in the summer before we had to go to day job. We had summer jobs and stuff. We would just go hang out down there and all day, and we'd have acoustic guitars and stuff. And I just wanted to learn the basics. It was my whole life, Since I was a little kid, it was music. Both my parents worked, and we had a babysitter during the day. My brother and I did, and she used to bring Beatles records. I remember specifically seeing, as just a toddler, seeing that. I was listening to Abbey Road and seeing the apple spin. I remember being really hungry looking at that apple, and she would tell she was a fanatic of the Beatles, and it wasn't just early stuff. I remember looking at all those Something New, that album, just looking at all these hours and hours of just looking at pictures, and she would tell stories about the Beatles like they were superheroes. And
how old were you?
I was a toddler. I don't know.
Think
6,
about
7.
this.
Yeah.
The time...
It was 72, 73. I was born in 67, so I must have been 6, 7, 8 years old. And my mom played piano too, so there was always this thing, and I got to... And I remember also in that time frame seeing the video for Jumpin' Jack Flash on that K-Tel hit Hot Rocks, the ad for Hot Rocks. And my mom, to this day, she goes, I'm convinced it was Jumpin' Jack Flash and Brown Sugar. Used to literally race around the house and jump around the house. And if you ask my wife, she would say you do the same thing when you hear those two songs. So it's like I just flip out. So it was that sound.
The period of time when you were a kid, that had the amount of time that had passed since the Beatles broke up until you were introduced to them is way shorter than the amount of time that's happened since Oasis has broken up until now.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, right. The Beatles broke up, it was 70, right?
Probably.
And I was probably 72, 73 when I was soaking that up for the first time,
Right.
It was a cool period of time to be listening to music. I mean, think about what was on the radio, that was first time listening to FM radio in the car with my folks. And it was, it was Alice Cooper and the Stones and all the stuff that I'm still...
Kiss.
Kiss was right there early on for me.
Aerosmith.
That's why I learned to play guitar, was listening to those records, literally vinyl. And I would take the needle and put it on there, and I had a little Marshall practice amp and a Kramer, that I bought because Mike McCready had a white Kramer. I bought a black one. I didn't tell those guys I was learning guitar.
They didn't know you played guitar?
I self-taught. I started learning. Yeah,
sneaky. A Kramer, what kind of Kramer?
It was one little whammy bar thing. It was just
Pacer?
Something like that.
That's a funny guitar to learn Dylan songs on.
Yeah, I know. It was that, but it was also, I was into Hendrix. I was into,
Van Halen?
Van Halen, too. Yeah, I remember going to see Van Halen. Was lucky to see them with David Lee Roth in those early days. And with Mike. Mike and I, we hung out with our group of friends, but Mike and I also we were both kind of nerds and loved Lord of the Rings and Tolkien. So we used to go on bike rides and we had our own little world, Mike and I did. And so it seemed like every year we went to 2 years in a row or 3 years in a row, we went and saw Van Halen by ourselves. So we kind of cut school and got in line and stole food, not steal food, but took food from my, lunch stuff and stale bagels and went down and got in line, got our little tickets. Used to get little tickets, like have drink tickets now when you get at a club. They would give those out, whatever color you were, was where you could come back in line. So we would just goof around all day, and I'd be sick to my stomach. I was so
ever being
excited.
able to do that.
Yeah,
Like going to
let me
shows
do
at the
that.
arena or whatever?
Coliseum. Parents,
Yeah.
12, 13 years old. You know, as long as your grades are up. I was so lucky. My parents were so supportive. Yeah, I got in trouble. There were times I got in trouble going to see the Mob Rules tour, my second concert. I cut school, and I thought I was okay. So I told my teacher, my parents said I could go, so I'm gonna go get in line. And they go, okay, because at that time I was a good student. They didn't think anything of it, so they called my parents, and that was not good.
What grade were you in?
That was 7th grade. Saw Cheap Trick earlier, and then I saw that, and then so I didn't get to go.
But to see Sabbath on Mob Rules, that's something.
I kind of caught the tail end of that arena rock era of rock and roll. I'm really kind of lucky I got to see some of that stuff because it kind of quickly turned into kind of a shit show.
Other stuff.
But yeah, I got some cool stuff in that 7th, 8th, 9th, all through high school. I saw some great shows.
Did you go to big shows in the 80s also, or had you moved on?
No, it was when I started. I think it was 79, 80 was my first concert. And then I just, all through the 80s, I went, I think a third concert, I went and saw the Kinks. And I saw Rush on the Tom Sawyer tour. Saw Van Halen.
Moving Pictures.
Yeah. Stones Tattoo. Yeah. My dad drove me down to Fidelity Lane so I could go see the Stones. I was heartbroken I couldn't see the Stones because they sold out.
I've never seen them.
You've never seen the Stones?
No, I'm embarrassed to say it.
Well, I got to see them in that era where they still had the original band. You go back and watch them now, it's like I prefer that. It was maybe sloppier or whatever, but
right.
It's still Ian McLagan on piano and still Ian Stewart playing. They both were playing, kind of cornered each other. One was playing keys.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just killer. And next when they were still singing backups and stuff poorly,
right.
Did cigarette hanging out of their mouth, doing Shattered really badly, and it was in a huge place, and they're all huddled around Charlie like they're playing a little club, and Mick's the only one playing for a big audience, and Ronnie Wood too. Ronnie liked to Ronnie Wood it up and do his thing, but
right.
God, I remember that show but it was also the Kingdoms, and I was like this is kind of shitty. I'm so far away, and
Kingdom is a weird place to see a show.
I didn't dig that. I was lucky. I saw shows at the Paramount and Coliseum in the arena, which is now then turned into Mercer Arena. Now it's up the Opera House. They kind of bulldozed it, but that was like a 6,000 seater. So I saw Judas Priest there. Chris Friel and I saw that Point of Entry tour, and then the next year we saw the Scream for Vengeance tour. And I remember being so excited, I was sick to my stomach. And then we kind of were halfway through the show. I started yawning, and Chris was kind of yawning, and we're like, it didn't suck. But we're kind of getting over.
Right.
And I think the next concert I was U2. We just Chris and I kind of started seeing other stuff. We just kind of started, I remember getting shit from some of our metalhead friends. Like, how come you're not going to go this? You're going to go see INXS. And then I remember saw INXS at the Paramount, like, it was to this day.
What tour was that?
Wasn't maybe Listen Like Thieves tour. It's like, and I was like, you have no idea what I killed, It was just so,
what is that one single that was on the album before that?
Never Tear Us Apart or
Don't Change a Thing?
Yeah. God, that's a good song. That was maybe before.
Maybe their best song.
One of the best songs. Another great Australian band that just some of those bands just can't.
They don't get mentioned in the conversation about Australian bands either.
They should. Because that was one of the most rock and roll cool things I've ever seen. Even those, it was that era where they had the electronic drums and stuff. And I didn't care. He was so good. And that band and the guitar players were killer, The
band is good.
Yeah, a good band's a good band,
That's right.
In the 8th grade, was it the 8th grade, or maybe I was senior? Maybe I was high school. I saw U2 on the War Tour down at the Paramount.
Wow.
So yeah, I just kind of started. I filled my whole life up with rock and roll, and during that, it was just what it was for me.
Did you see Sinead O'Connor at Parker's when she played?
I did not, but I saw Ronnie Wood at Parker's with. At the time, I barely knew these guys. It was all that group of guys from Arizona, which ended up being in the Super Suckers. It was Ron and Danny Bland, and at the time I was just met Brian Kenny, we ended up forming Lazy Susan together, and we're all kind of in the front row with Rick Friel and all these people, and we got into. I can't remember if we were definitely over 21. It wasn't like we snuck in or anything, but I remember just being in the front and Ian McLagan piano, and it was ridiculous. Bernard Fowler did all the Rod stuff.
Yeah,
there with a cane, and he was just kind of. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
To this, so that was one of those ones I kind of forgot about until this moment. Like, you talk about these. I saw these great shows. That was one of the ones I just kind of spaced. Seeing Lenny Kravitz at the backstage. I'm kind of jumping the timeline here. Saw him.
Is that right?
Backstage on his first tour. Or Wilco early on in their first 2 tours at the backstage is one of those places were you
I played one show there, and I saw Lisa Germano play there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cool room. Oh, I also saw I don't remember what it was called. It might have been called the Most Dangerous Band or the whatever. It was it was a bunch of Zappa alumni that went and toured like right after Zappa died, and they did, Zappa material.
Gotcha.
And they knew how to do it right.
Got it.
And it sounded like the shit because they were in the band. It wasn't like a cover band, even though it was.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
That era was back when it was late 80s, early 90s when I was doing in Lazy Susan, and that just seemed like that was the place that my friends, we all went, like, would gravitate to on the weekends. And I saw NRBQ there. Like,
wow.
I remember trying to speak. I wanted to introduce myself to Joey Spompanato because he was hanging out with the crowd. And it was at that time Bill Wyman had just quit. And he was like, he'd been playing with Keith Richards and Keith's solo stuff. And I think that Chuck Berry movie, he was the bass player. And he was like, everyone was like, he's got to be in the Stones. Like, plays like, kind of has that bass player, real old school vibe to him. And I remember he was snapping at people like, stop asking me. I remember people were around him asking him, and he was really annoyed. I'm like, oops, I'm not gonna, So, but yeah, that show was ridiculous. So yeah, those throughout the years, I was really lucky to see those arena rock cool shows in the '80s, and then transferred into seeing cool club
For
gigs.
people who are wondering where the backstage was, it's like it was in Ballard, and maybe it's a health club now.
It is a health club. It's kind of underneath where that Starbucks is there on Market Avenue, and
downstairs.
It was a great. Yeah, you would go in there was the back alley. You would walk down, and it's a walk down, an old school jazz, wood floors. The sound in there was just ridiculous. It's just perfect.
Did you ever play there?
Yeah,
I played one show there.
I played 4 or 5 shows there. Good ones. Couple there at the end of Lazy Susan right as we were death rattle. So I remember one in particular was like, this wasn't good. But we also had some killer shows there too. So
I looked for Lazy Susan on Spotify.
Uh-oh.
And there's a lot of Lazy Susans.
There are now, yeah.
Yeah.
At the time there wasn't. I remember we had a legal thing at the time with one. There was one in Washington, D.C. It was just us and another band in Washington, D.C. We had a deal, so they kind of, and they just kind of whatever stopped. But there are now stuff, but yeah.
Is there stuff to listen to there?
Yeah, I think so. I don't do Spotify. I hate to say it, but I don't go there.
But it's on streaming platforms.
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's 91 and 92. We put 2 records out that we put out on our own. Twang was one of them, and the other one was, what's the name of our second record? Sync. They're cool records, and we had a third and fourth record that never came out, and then at that point we were signed by Hollywood Records, and it seemed like all the labels we were warned about, like from all our friends who were in bands doing stuff, like members of Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, buddies of mine. They were just like, don't sign with MC and don't sign with this band, and they're the only labels that were really offering us a deal. And we just like at some point we just want to get in the game, And,
right.
I think Maverick was interested. That was Madonna's label. We had a publishing deal with Warner Brothers, Warner Chappell, with some cool people there. So we had some trust there. Mm-hmm. They helped us out, get on the road a little bit and do some stuff and give us some advance and some money and bought a van and kind of did it on our own terms, But I don't know if that appears weird, that record deal grew legs and walked away. It's kind of what happened was,
There's a lot of grunge happening.
There's a lot of grunge, and we weren't grunge. We had the spirit of those bands, and we had a huge draw in Seattle. Felt like we were beloved by our fans, the bands that dug us, and a lot of those bands would come to see us, and it just didn't quite. I remember a couple labels that we really liked that we really wanted to sign with. When we were in negotiations, they're kind of like, we don't know how to move you guys. I'm like, oh, all right, well, just get us on the road and let us kind of develop us, let us put a couple records out. But it used to be able to, in the 70s, our heroes, they took them 3-4 records
Right.
and let them go out on the road and fall on their face a little bit and grow and become a band. And
There's a great sound clip of Frank Zappa talking about record company men. And he basically said when record companies started hiring hipsters, they were shit. Because the old guys were like, I don't know, what is it? I don't know what to do with it. I don't know, just put it out and see what happens.
yeah.
And then, young people who think they know what's what, they're like, I know what's hot. So we know what the kids want or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's probably a little bit of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was either the labels that we liked, who were really cool to us, that we really, people who at the label that we respected, who got us, they weren't allowed to take a chance.
Right.
And it was then the other labels, just we weren't grunge, and can you guys be like this, or they wanted to kind of mold. It's like that wasn't our. So it was just kind of this thing. So we ended up going with one.
Can you guys sound like the Breeders?
Yeah. You sound like this, and we were more Black Crowes if you're going to put it in Tom Petty in that world. That's what our vibe was, and we're good at it. I loved our band, and I'm still super proud of it, and wouldn't change a damn thing. So.
How long had you been playing the guitar? Because you didn't start till you were 18?
18. I think I was in my first band, my first year of college, 21, 22. And that band was my late 20s. So I've been playing. I guess I've been playing a little bit since, I think, Lazy Susan I started around... No, I was 25 when I started Lazy Susan. I think the Kim Virant band was in my 30s. So, yeah, just a few years, I was just... I just barely had enough chops and a look or whatever, and I had a lot of energy and passion, but I got into Lazy Susan after being in my first band, which is a lot of covers, really great band. Guys I met when I was my first job when I needed money in college. I worked at a record store, worked at Peaches Records, and I met a buddy named I'm still friends with, Clay Bartlett, and another guy named John Troutman, and Clay and I just hit it off with, we loved T-Rex and we loved.
Didn't tons of people work at Peaches?
Yes, I met Mike Musburger, I think, was there at that time frame too.
John Auer?
John Auer was there. I didn't know him then. I knew him. I met him later. But it was Clay Bartlett and I. We got into a band. We were into Angel City, and we did an Angel City cover. We did Johnny Thunder song. And
Which Angel City song did you do?
We did Marseille just because it was easy, and so I knew how to play it. It was like one of the only things
Sounds kind of
I
like
knew
an
when I do that little
song.
lick. Yeah, it was that. And we did a Hanoi. I think we did Hanoi. We were into Hanoi Rocks and New York Dolls and T-Rex and Bowie. We loved Bowie, and at the time I was a Mick Ronson fanatic, and we started a band, with this 16-year-old hotshot guitar player that we fell in love with named Jeff Hyatt, who went on to be in Bathtub Gin and Lemons, fucking legend. He plays in Zeke now. He's a good buddy. I just had lunch with him and Clay recently. We had a little get together, but that band.
I wish I was good enough to be in Zeke. I think they're the fucking best punk rock band.
Freaking awesome. It's so great now. He's on the road playing Australia and doing stuff. And anyway, so that band was killer. It was super fun. And we were a little bit renegades at the time and full of just who you are when you're 19, 20, 21. You're just kind of little snots. And it was fun. It was a fun band. We played the Vogue with full stacks, just on both, just stupid, but it was so fun. I mean, there's a one videotape of VHS, because I don't think I gave it to Clay or someone, but it's cool. It was 5 or 6 cool, pretty fun originals, and that was my first band. So I kind of learned a little bit of that, and I sang in the beginning. I was singing, and Clay was singing. It was more of a 4-piece. We also were into the Replacements, so it was a touch of that, and then Guns N' Roses were just, the EP had just come out, so we were just zeroed in on that and that world, and also Clay was into the Replacements, and he kind of got me into some of those great mini Husker Du and that stuff. So we were kind of drawing from kind of a punk thing, and it was a great fun first band.
Being into the Replacements in your first band is a good thing, because it gives you a lot of leeway to be loose. Yes, but the catchy, simple catch songs are just catchy. Hooks galore.
And so yeah, and we're anyway. So that that's kind of where that stepping stone for me to get into, like, want to be in a band. And I remember specifically another buddy named John, who I worked with at Peaches. We got offered a chance to go see Mick Ronson and Ian Hunter down in and they were playing the 99 Club, and we got those little sticky after show VIP things. It wasn't like full backstage, it was like you get to go. So we go to the show, and it was ridiculous. Like, I can't believe I'm watching. And Mick Ronson was amazing, and it's back when he was playing his blue telly, but yet he sounded like he was playing that Les Paul. He just,
It's because of these.
yeah, and it was all the Mouth Hoople tunes, and it was Ian Hunter, and it was just, the band was great. And I went backstage afterwards, and he's just standing in the corner, kind of by himself, kind of by a deli tray, his food and catering and stuff. And he's sitting there, and I just walk up to him, and we start a conversation. We talked for 2 hours, and long story short, he brought myself and Johnny goes, well, we're playing a place called Portland. How far is that? I go, it's a couple hours. Like, would you like to be my guest and have dinner with me? And I went and had dinner with him, and he had a guy come find us in the crowd. I'm not kidding. It was like the greatest, my first kind of rock star I'd ever met, other than I met Paul Stanley, and I met people out getting autographs when I was a kid, but this is the first time I actually had a time, and I had hung out with him and Ian Hunter, just sat like this, like we were talking, and just sat after their show and talked about Stones and Keith Richards, and at that time I was such a Keith, talking about how he's the greatest rhythm guitar player, and I never forget, he looked at me and he goes, no. He goes, Pete Townsend is the greatest rhythm guitar player in rock and roll history. He goes, no, Tim, repeat after me. Remember, Pete Townsend? It was this thing, and it was like kind of like, and I love the Who. I love Pete, but I was like, and I now I'm like, 30 years later, I'm like, oh yeah, it's Pete Townsend. Like, not knowing me wrong, Keith is my guy, but it's like, you know what I'm saying? It was just kind of a, I was 21. I was literally 22. I didn't know anything, but I just a sweetheart of a guy, So it was a huge impression on how you see how someone you admire cares and carries himself in that way, and it wasn't full of himself, didn't have no ego about them at all. Even Ian Hunter was super cool, although he was kind of intimidating with big glasses and the big head of hair. It was a little, took me a little bit to kind of feel comfortable just chatting with him.
I don't know who the first rock star I ever I met a lot of people downtown working at the market.
Got it. Yeah. How long were you down in the market? How long? What years were with that?
Like 93.
Got it.
To 96.
Got it.
So I saw everyone walk through there, and when the Sonics were in the finals,
oh yeah,
I met a bunch of the Bulls. Met Dennis Rodman.
Got it.
Met Eric Snow down there buying stuff for his mom on Mother's Day, and the Black Crowes walked by. They were playing the Paramount. They walked by, and my coworker is this guy, Stashik, Stan. We called him Stan. He sees them walk by, and he goes, "Look at those junkie people."
That's crazy. I had a buddy who helped Lazy Susan out in the early years, helped put our first record out.
Yeah.
He just was a fan. He wasn't a super fan or anything. He just was a fan of the band, and he wasn't trying to get in the industry. I don't know but he did sports posters. His name was John Kostakos. I'm still friends with him. I don't see him as much throughout the years, but he did all those posters, him and his dad, and they did the posters. You see George Gervin, the Iceman, and it's just him jumping over the moon, or Jordan jumping over the moon. He did those posters for Nike in those early years. He did that stuff, and he knew. His art department did our album cover, and it was like, wow, and so we kind of got a break with that, and then we got a loan and pressed a bunch of records. So it looked like we actually had a real record deal. And that was just us, which at the time people were like, how did you do this? What? And I'm like, you
guys made a CD.
Put a CD out, and looked super proud, a fold out thing. And it was pretty cool to do. That was 91 or something. We sold a bunch of that first record. But anyways, it was, he introduced me to Charles Barkley. And so Charles came to the Crocodile and saw us play and hung out. And I had dinner with him, I think 6 or 7 times over a period. And there was a gap between one of the periods, and he saw me coming into the restaurant at the bar, and he came racing to the bar and gave me a big hug. And I haven't talked to him in forever, but he was, and you guys need to come stay at my place in Phoenix. It was actually, he was in Phoenix, and they were the rivals,
That's
Sonics, and they hated each other.
Wow.
And they came during that was the year before we had Eric Snow, and that was a couple years prior.
The classic.
Yeah, those early years. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, cool. It was a cool time. It was amazing. I think back on all that stuff, it's kind of a blurb, and then some of the stories are real distinct memories, really, anyways, that was
Well, I've told you this before. Lazy Susan was the first show that I saw when I moved to Seattle. When I finally got the cojones to move here.
Yeah.
I must have been here for a week. I didn't even have a car, and I lived like right by South Seattle Community College in West Seattle. So I took the bus.
Wow.
Which I got on the wrong bus and ended up what I know
ended
now.
up at the Lazy Susan show.
What I know now.
I was going to see Mudhoney and ended up at Lazy Susan.
What I know now is I ended up down by the bus, like South, like Soto bus transfer area down there, and was like, and the guy was like, "You got to get off. This is it." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, what do you want? What are you trying to do?" And I was like, "I got to go to this place, the Rock Candy." And he's like, "I don't know what that is. Do you know where it is?" I'm like, "Fuck, I don't know. I just moved here. It's a famous place. You don't know?" So I sat there forever, and then a bus finally came and got me. And back then, it wasn't the Soto like this. It was fucking desolate.
Yeah. No, Soto is,
There wasn't shit going on.
Yeah.
And so I made it. I got the bus took me all the way there, and I found my way. No cell phone or whatever. Saw the show. It was awesome. It was you guys and Sweetwater.
Yeah. It's funny. I said it was kind of that era can be a blur, but I remember that show really clearly. Like I just remember some of those bigger Rock Candy shows. It was like Rock Candy was a trip because that place was just jammed Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. If you played on a Saturday, I mean, the night before was just as epic. I don't know if you looked at those calendars for 2 years. It was just man. And I would get in there at for load in at 4, whatever we're doing for the headline, and it would just your feet would just stick. It would be like it just was gross, and they'd be mopping and cleaning, and it was just it was a pretty.
It was such a good place because you could be down on the floor, and it was a pretty active floor.
Yeah.
And then there was the mezzanine that was like a full 90-degree upper mezzanine.
Right.
I saw some shows there.
Me too. Yeah, I remember specifically, and I'm trying to remember if that was my first that Sweetwater show. Was the show that you saw was the one with our first when we got our new drummer Richard Stuverud. I remember specifically that was an epic rock and roll evening, but it was just I don't know. There was some. Yeah, it was. That band was I was really proud of being in that band. Again, that was kind of the first band I kind of learned how to be in a band. That first band, Dead Flowers, are great, but we were just kind of punk rock, kind of doing our thing, and that was as a big chapter in my life. But at Lazy Susan, I learned to play, kind of become a musician, and I kind of got my ass kicked a little bit in the studio for the first time. I could play some licks, but I was self-taught, so I was missing some fundamentals, if I'm being honest with myself, and kind of learn the less is more thing and not fill up every gap with, and then you start working with cool people like Andy Johns, and Mark Hudson from the Hudson Brothers produced one of our demos. It was great. It was awesome. So I had some cool people in those years. And
it's hard when you're in a situation and you're nervous or you're not 100% comfortable.
Yeah.
You can be not 100% comfortable, not necessarily be nervous, and not know exactly what to play. And instead of like the most musically intelligent thing to do is
turn up.
The most musically intelligent thing to do is find one note and let it hang, right?
Right.
But so often, I mean, people will play a bunch of notes and fill it up. I'm guilty. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And you're off to the races. And it's like, well, it ends up being jumbly.
Well, there's some stuff that I just listened to recently, and I'll give you some old cassette tape stuff from our early demos that we did, and some of the stuff we did with Andy Johns. And I'm listening to it, and it's like, and it's a lot of the single note, simple Mike Campbell, and it was just the leads Brian's in, and I was like, oh my god, it was cool, and I was always into the 2-guitar thing, the weave, my heroes. I mean, it was Mark Ford and Rich Robinson, Keith and Ronnie. Actually, more Keith and Mick Taylor era is more my jam, and and Angus and Malcolm. I mean, Malcolm is the greatest, most underrated musician on the planet, So I was always loved that, and obviously I loved Page and Townsend and the guys those three-piece, four-piece bands too.
What's the most contemporary guitar player you're into?
Contemporary?
Are you into any?
Yeah, but they're all 90. They're all Mark Ford,
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's Kathy Moore, but she's just local. She's incredible.
Yeah.
Jeff Fielder's the best guitar player I know on the planet at the moment.
Yeah.
He's a friend and he's local. I'm sure there's got people out there that are, Derek Trucks. I mean,
he's very good.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, incredible
he's
guitar
very
player.
good. Turns out pretty good.
Jason Isabel and his guitar player. I forget his name. Oh God, Jason Isabel's guitar player and his band, 400 Pound Unit.
Is he a blonde-haired fella?
I forget his first name. He's fantastic.
I think I met him down at Emerald City.
Yeah, he's a great player. I mean, a lot of those guys, Oddly Freed. I mean, these are kind of guys from the 90s and 2000s. Peter Stroud's incredible, who played with Pete Droge here in town, who I was lucky to kind of pal around with. And then when I first was starting, between Dead Flowers and my first band in Lazy Susan, I was hanging with Pete quite a bit in those days. And his career took off, And
did you glean anything from? Did you guys noodle around at all? Did you play?
We played a town. I got him. We both worked at Picora's there in Ravenna together. I got him a job there, and we were buds for a good many years. In the years of I was doing Dead Flowers, I met Jeff and Matt, and I became friends with Stone. I knew Stone, but we became. They kind of took me under the wing a little bit, and they got my band a gig, some cool gigs, and they kind of paired me up with Pete Droge. They go, "Hey, you guys should meet and do stuff." And we became friends. He ended up kind of doing his own thing and whatever, and I ended up joining Lazy Susan, and it all worked. Everything was cool, but yeah. So I mean, I remember being on the road with Lazy Susan, and we ended up kind of just by chance getting on the same bill together, doing shows at places, a couple of gigs in San Francisco and some stuff. And anyway, but yeah, I took a lot to be honest between Brian Kenny, who was kind of my big brother in Lazy Susan, and Pete Droge. There's not a day, I swear, there's not a day that goes by whether I'm tracking with Duff or doing stuff on my own or playing in Tony Foljam's new band or I don't think about their lessons, because they kind of taught me quite a bit. They taught me the less is more. They helped me kind of go from playing an emotional, fiery guitar player to playing with more passion and restraint and control and push me in a good way. And I admired them. They're kind of like big brothers, and so I'm pretty lucky to have those guys kind of as guys I looked up to and admired, and they helped me out quite a bit.
Do you think that you're that person to anyone else? It's funny because they probably don't think about that. They don't think about your relationship with them in the same way that you do, right?
No, I don't know. It's a thing. Right. I mean, I think I don't know if I'm that to anybody.
Think about all the things that someone has said, someone that you're like, oh man, they're really doing it, and you admire them, and they say something that maybe they mean, but it's not supposed to carry a bunch of weight, but you take it and you absorb it.
Yeah.
I have a lot of moments like that with Duff.
Yeah. Duff is. Yeah, Duff. It's been a cool couple years getting to know him. I mean, I've met Duff years and years ago when doing those. I think we started. I think it was the concert for Haiti, the benefit shows and the Hootenanny shows is when I think we'd met before them, and we kind of for some way maybe played together and maybe had some time to kind of chat and about music. And I knew that we would kind of do something at some point. I kind of felt that, So yeah, it's been a joy working with him. It's been a life-changing, cool thing, So
let's talk about that for a minute.
Sure. Yeah.
So here we are. I guess wow. I've been in and out of Seattle now for 31 years.
Yep.
That's a long ass time.
It is.
And now after 29 years, 30 years, we're playing together.
We're finally playing together. We're finally get to know each other. We've a lot of mutual close
crossing
friends.
crossing
paths and saying hey and at gigs, and I don't think we even got a chance to play together until just recently. So
we've only even shared a couple bills.
Yeah, the Queen thing from way back,
right?
Like 4 or 5 years ago now. 5 years ago.
The Chasers played.
Yeah, Halloween. Yeah, that was great.
I
remember. I think I told you. You kind of. I'm always really insecure with that gig because I'm trying to do all the Brian May stuff through all these years, and I remember just like you did Killer Queen. I'm like, oh my god, I've been playing it wrong this whole time, and you just killed it. I was so impressed. And
what was the one that? The star of the Chasers is Johnny Nails.
Yeah, Johnny's
great.
Ryan.
Yeah, I'm just lucky to be there.
Nah.
I'm just seriously. I was lucky to be there. Such a fun band to play in.
Great band.
We did Killer Queen, but the cooler song was whatever. What's the one with the big echo break in the middle of it?
Brighton Rock.
Brighton Rock.
That's a fucker.
That is a barn burner. That motherfucker.
Yeah.
Still to this day, and I'm surprised you haven't gone down this rabbit hole, and fully. I want a Brian May guitar, of some kind.
Well, we have one in our little family. I think Chris Friel has one, and it was, I don't know how he got it. It's a Japanese thing.
Greco.
Yeah, it might be. It never really played well. Brian Rowe, my guitar tech, finally took it over a couple years and kind of played it. He brought it 2 years ago to the Halloween show, and I was like, I'll play it for a song. But I remember it being not that great. But I put it on at the end of one of the sets or the last 4 or 5 songs just because I wanted to, and I was just like, holy crap, why am I not using this? Because he set it up, it played better, but he also gave me this chart. It was like the chart of the elements because it's got the three things,
the wiring diagram.
And it's a thing for each song. It had you put this one in this position with this and that position, and the neck you have to be using the middle pickup. And it's a kind of like, I don't want to do math when I'm playing rock and roll. I just want it to sound right. But it's pretty legit, and especially playing through because I play through an AC30 and I've got the right echo and all that stuff. So I've kind of got a bit of the tone dialed. You put that guitar in there, I'm like, oh, well, I have to be using this. So
I think that I'm going to buy one of those Brian May guitars.
Yeah.
There's a company called RS Conversions.
Do they do one?
They sell you like a trem kit. You take that tremolo out and you have to route it. And it's like a reproduction of and like a preloaded pick guard with the right wiring in it. So basically gets you closer to, the real deal.
Got it. Yeah. That Queen gig is fun. But it's also, like I say, I went into that this year will be our 25th year. We only play once a year. It's like we don't do purpose. He said, no, let's not do casinos. Let's not take, every once in a while do a second gig or something during the year.
Yeah.
But we just do Halloween. We just play Queen really loud and fun. It's a big masquerade ball. It's mostly just for the fans. They just come, and it's been pretty cool after all these years. It's turned into a thing.
If you ever want to retire, just let me know.
I'll give you I have to spare. Well, if I'm gone this year, you're going to be with me. So
that's right.
Well, anyways, it's a fun gig, but
yeah.
And I love Queen. It's a hard gig. I kind of have to clear my schedule for those 2 weeks and kind of like, okay,
I was mostly joking. I don't want to have to learn. It's way cooler to learn them in the comfort of my bedroom where I don't have to be embarrassed about playing those songs in front of half the guitar players in town that are like.
Yeah. But that's kind of, I felt, but it's also that's the kind of stuff that taking those gigs kind of keeps me on my toes.
Sure.
It's the way you get better. It's every year it's a guitar lesson. I learn something new. They hit me with a song I have never learned, and it's hard, but I do it. It's fun. It's a ball. It's not like doing a Stone song or whatever. I've been playing in a Beatles thing the last 5 years, and that's just as hard. Because you can't
play a Stone song however you want to play it, and no one would hardly even care. Right?
Sort of. Yeah, I mean, you and I would care. It's like I've seen some bad Stones, but you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. You could kind of blues, and you can.
Take some liberties.
You take some liberties.
Can't take liberties with the Queen
Or
song.
the Beatles. Yeah.
Or Beatles.
Yeah.
You do not fucking take liberties with the Beatles.
No. There's not a lot of space and room to do that stuff with. I mean, you're off a little bit, even if you're. I mean, especially in the early, the harder songs. Actually, I've been realizing was we had to do a. Normally, it's Revolver on, but recently we've had a few private gigs where they wanted us to play, the Hard Day's Night and some of the early stuff. Those songs are so fast, and everything's ninths and sevenths and diminished.
chords.
Everything's a ninth. So you got your pinky stretched this way, and you're all. It's like, are they on speed? Like what?
Well, they played their guitars up here, so it's easier to make those weird chords. Yeah.
And if you're off, if you don't get the pinky down, and you just play a D minor instead of a seventh or something, and that'll be. It can't just be that'll be good enough. People, you hear it. It's immediately noticed by your bandmates. I'm like, you can't just be like. Just,
Right, your bass player went to fucking Juilliard or whatever, and he's like, hey, I noticed you didn't play the passing 13th note in that fourth chord of the bridge.
Yeah.
Oopsie poopsie.
Sorry. I'm getting paid. Yeah, I'm doing my best here. But yeah, no, it's a killer. Love that band. That's a killer band. So
yeah.
Anyways.
Let's talk about the Duff gig.
Yeah, we skipped around a little bit. Sorry about that.
That's all right. This is the fun. It's here. The thing is, it's my show. We can do whatever we want. So we're gonna hit the fucking road, and we can talk about it now.
We can,
because when this episode comes out, the shows will have been announced.
Cool, because I still don't have the dates. I have a starting date and an end date, and I'm excited. So tell me what am I going to be?
I'm really excited.
Doing?
So I've I don't quite want to spill the beans on the band, what the band is yet.
Got it.
But I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, and I was like, I'm really excited for this tour. There's some great venues.
Mm-hmm.
We're going. Dublin down through the UK, just a few shows, and then over, 3 weeks through Europe and the UK, right?
Yeah.
And I'm excited, but half of my excitement is through the lens of doing it with you.
Wow. Thank you. I don't even
because it'll be fresh in a way that touring hasn't. Like, I love to tour.
Yeah,
I love it a whole lot. That's all I want to do. I don't want to, if I didn't have dogs that I loved, I fucking wouldn't want to come home, even to Seattle, which I love.
Got it.
I would just want to play. But this tour, I'm excited to tour with you, just going through this whole process with you.
Well, I feel the same way. This is going to be great. And this started for me in late 2019, 20, and I didn't record. I started recording in early 2020, right before the world kind of shut down. I got a call from Duff, and he goes, "Hey, I got these, man, I really want to do a project with you, and I got these songs, and I think I really want your guitar playing on it. Would you come down into my studio here and say I got a new studio and he goes, I don't know what they are. They're just demos. To be honest, it might just be stuff for guns. I have no idea,
Right.
And like, cool. And we got some dates together, and I went down there, and I think I did 7 songs in 5.5 hours that first day. It just flew out of me, and actually 5 of those are on the new record that day. It was like, it just felt right. Songs were great. Some of them didn't have lyrics.
Do you remember which songs that day?
I did. The first song I did was I did Fallen Ones. It's on the record.
Yeah.
I think that was track 2. I know I did.
We played that one at Easy Street.
Yeah, I played at Easy Street.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I did that. That sounds terrible. I almost said something really. I did like in 1 or 2 takes. Like, boom. Some of that stuff was literally like, oh, I got this. I know where you're going with this. And other than tweaking, like, do you think you want some tremolo? And it was a cool thing. I didn't touch anything. I had brought my amp, they put it in the room, and they dimed my deluxe. And I just used my telly on that one, and they were messing around with my pedal board. I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I just instinctively went with this, and I think I did that one. I can't remember the second one, but I know I did 2 or 3 that are on the record just that first day, and maybe a few others. And it just felt right. You know, and
Yeah.
he came to my car. I was loading out that day, and he goes, he gave me the best compliment. He goes, you just turned this into a freaking album. Like, I don't know what to do now. Like, that's what his energy was towards me. And he gave me a big hug, and he goes, I came in, did a few more, and then I think I did one more session where I did some stuff for him, and then the world kind of stopped.
Sure.
And then I kept going in. And I think for that period with Martin, his producer, who was unbelievably fun to work with, and he really got the best out of me. I can't speak highly enough of his ears and his temperament, just his approach. He really got me. He really knew when to push, when to kind of kick me in the ass a little bit, and when to, he just, but I never heard the songs. I never got a chance to, like, a couple times, like, you want to send me some stuff so I can kind of work on. He goes, no, we don't want to do that. We just want your initial. They would hit record while I'm tuning up and learning the song. They wanted all my first instincts. And I did that on, I think, between 20 and 27 tunes. Some of it was just ding, 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 a little color here or there. Some of them were rhythm and lead. Some of them, I think, Fallen Ones had vocals. I think Long Feather, that may not have been the first session, but I remember that had vocals, and it was kind of a finished song. There's a few other ones too but again, it's kind of a blur. But I remember that first day was really magical, and all those trips to the studio were. And then through COVID, there were times I just went with Martin, and he would be on Zoom, and he would call, and he went down to LA, and he was living down there, and he would call me, and he would get the stuff later, and I would get a message. It's perfect. I'm like, cool. So I don't know. It's been so, and then we've talked about maybe doing, we were talking about doing a record that we would maybe go on the road. So now that it's finally here, and we're talking about dates, and especially going to Europe, this is pretty cool. So, and it's been years since I've toured that way, and I played Munich with Rob Benson, a good mutual friend of ours, who a great singer-songwriter in Seattle. That was right after, that was in 9/11. I don't know, 2013, 2014. But it's been a while since I've been to Europe playing music. So
it was before that, even, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. When I was with Rob.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I played with Rob for the last decade up until like a year or so ago. But trying to think when that gig was in Munich. It was a wedding, and then we had to do some club dates. We just booked some other shows over there. So it was fun. I like doing that duo set with him. That's one of my favorite gigs I've ever done. Playing with Rob, acoustic, and then whatever. And I play electric with him. It's a fun.
Rob is, I've said it a million times. I've said it on this podcast. I've said it everywhere I go. Rob is the most talented singer I've ever played with.
Oh, me too.
And
I have some great singers. I'm really lucky to play with some amazing singer-songwriters, but he's
the most prolific songwriter.
Yeah, he writes an album a weekend. We've talked about this. Like I wrote a disco record. Like, shit. Like, right. And you listen to it like, oh, you did. This was really good. And
right.
you don't know. It's overwhelming.
Shit.
You know, send me songs like, it's overwhelming. I mean, we were in a band called Stereo Embers for last 8-9 years, and I always looked at Stereo Embers as like just a side project for Rob, or like what Crazy Horse was to Neil Young. Like, when you need a rock and roll band, I'll be here with you, and I'll run this band for you. Just a simple 4-piece rock and roll band. And I got to write a song here or there, mostly his material. It was cherry pick his best material. And, initially we were doing Dear John Letter's songs, and I don't think we ever did a Nevada Bachelor's tune in Embers, but then we would do his solo stuff, and then I would write here and there. And Ben Brunn was playing with us, who played with you. And
you're not sloppy enough to play a Nevada Bachelor's song.
That's one of my favorite bands. So,
or you're not drunk enough.
I don't know about that. But no, I love that. All of his bands are great. Dear John Letters were ridiculous, and anyways. But yeah, the Duff thing is like finally going on the road, and it's going to be so exciting to play with you and the kind of, I'm just honored to be in his bullpen. So whatever he needs me, I'm there for him. I love the guy. He's such a talented guy. These songs are so courageous. He's so vulnerable and open with his lyrics, and just, I don't know, just right up my alley. It's got that kind of, these songs at least have that kind of Badfinger, he's got the Stones thing. It just, I don't know. I just love it. And it's been, at least for this chapter, I feel like it's a good match. So going to give them my best. Start working all summer on getting ready for this. So
I think it's going to be a shit hot band.
yeah, I think so.
The band has big shoes to fill.
Yeah, it does. It's yeah. That makes me a little nervous when I think about it too much. Like, he could get he knows some pretty great guitar players.
I've heard some live recordings of the last band.
Yeah.
And they were fucking great.
Yeah, it was a great band. I mean, you and I got to play with Shooter on a Kimmel gig. So I was like, wow, these guys are, and Jamie too. So it's like,
yeah,
we've been lucky. And then we did the Easy Street gig with another shit hot band. So this is going to be cool. We'll get it rolling. And
yeah, so we have got to do two very cool things. So Duff just released a deluxe version of Lighthouse that had a couple of the songs from the Easy Street performance on it.
Yeah.
Which is pretty rad.
Yeah.
With the epic introduction by Matt Vaughn.
Yeah, Matt Vaughn.
he gave it 110%.
He did, and then my electric, I think it was my guitar was feeding back, but it wasn't my acoustic. So I'm like, well, that's not me. It's not. And they stopped the show, and I'm just sitting there going, hey, it wasn't me. And I'm looking down because my tuner's on. I'm like, it's not my acoustic. But what happened was was going to switch to electric my second show, and there was a short in my pickup that I didn't know about, and it was just on standby. I assumed it was just off, and it was just on enough that I was picking up all the sound. So it was me that was making the sound. I'm like, oh, I felt like such an idiot. But we were still standing with that little stage. We're all standing on spaghetti wire and cables everywhere.
Right.
Where poor Mike was like playing in the street, we had that with that little stage. But
that was pretty wild.
It was a fun show, though. I thought I was really, again, proud of you and I did we
packed in there.
We had a lot of work before we met Duff and started doing the rehearsals. You and I put in some time, and which I assume we'll be doing this summer.
For sure.
So, which is going to be great. I absolutely look forward to that.
Well, we'll get to play a full proper show.
Yeah, I get to dig into some of that stuff. I started last night. Like, well, I played on this song. I mean, how did I do this? Like, there was a few I got to kind of brush up on, even though I played on it. I can't remember exactly what I did 3 years ago. So
right.
I don't know. So I just I'll get a head start and start playing the set every day and chip away at it. So I'm ready. So.
Then a few weeks later, we went down to LA and played Kimmel, and
was that the first time you'd ever played a TV show like that?
That was my second show, but it was 24 years ago. It's
definitely my first.
Might as well have been my first. I know how I felt about it, and I know my experience. I don't know if I've talked about it here or not, but I'm interested to hear just your perspective on rehearsal. We had 2 days of rehearsal, very, very brief days of rehearsal. And then the show, the show was a very long day.
It was a very long day, yeah. Well, initially when I got the call from you, and then Duff called me like an hour later, and we chatted, and he was really complimentary. Like, dude, I wouldn't ask you if I didn't think you were going to just fucking kill this. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. And I felt good about it. I wrote it's his song. He wrote the song, but that guitar part, I wrote my lead. So it's like playing, I know it. You and I just played the song probably 1,000 times for the Easy Street gig.
A lot of times.
So as far as playing that song, other than we did an edited version of it, I felt good about my playing and doing it and where I was at with it. And I've been playing all fall in different bands and just working hard. So just a matter of just like taking a deep breath and just letting things kind of come to me. And, a little nervous meeting Shooter, and you don't want to, you don't want to fall on your face. You don't want to make a mistake, a big mistake. And it's possible that you're going to make one at some time in your lifetime.
Everyone does.
Everyone makes a whatever, but you don't want to do it on TV, and I just didn't know exactly what the stages are going to be like. Everyone was so warm and sweet, and to be honest, it was kind of easy.
The crew there was incredibly cool.
I know. I hear all these stories about, McBob and all these guys, and I finally get to meet them, and they're the sweetest,
Yeah.
And Martin being there really helped, having, and you have my back with
Familiar
stuff, and you
folks.
helped me, come off, off the cliff trying to send my guitar through the going through the airport, like having to give it away.
Was that really the first time you'd ever checked
No,
a
I've
guitar?
done so, but I hadn't checked a guitar. I haven't checked my telly ever. The last time I took my telly, I took to Europe. I they let me take it on the plane. I didn't this time. I was like, I'm not, but I don't know. It was just some of that stuff, and I got to get used to that. Like, all right, we'll figure this stuff out. But I had to take a pedal board and all that stuff, and I just didn't have a lot of the gear for it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. The experience was cool. It was a long day. It's just like any other show. You're kind of ready, and then they put makeup on you, and you go do blocking. You get out there, and you've already sound checked, and you do the songs again, and you're sitting there with makeup on. You can't really touch your face, and you just kind of, and you have 2 hours
Then
before
you
go,
leave again.
Then you leave, yeah. And so it's the same, but it's the same. Never nervous, but just antsy. I want to go play. I'm ready.
And still never met Kimmel.
Yeah, I never met Kimmel. And yeah, I watched.
I mean, what are you going to say to him anyway?
It's like,
hey, I know you from TV.
Yeah, it's different. You were just, that was all that Aaron Rodgers stuff was happening at that same time. It was kind of weird. But to be honest, I just did a gig with Mike McCready. Had hired me to be kind of I don't want to say the band director, but help him put together the show for the Will Ferrell show down in Los Angeles. So I played with, that was nerve-wracking. I was more nervous for that, going to those rehearsals, backing up Annie from St. Vincent and Beck, and playing with Cindy Blackman Santana, and Roger Manning from Beck's band was in the band. It was just like, whoa.
I would almost be most nervous about that.
Yeah, that was a trip.
What did Keanu play?
Played bass in his band Dogstar.
And he didn't sit in with you guys.
No, they did their set. Then they let me sit in a little bit. Mike needed help. We did a Badfinger song, and we did a Cure song, and
with them. Yeah.
So we were kind of they were the house band. They were a 3-piece, and so I helped with that and played acoustic on one and played electric on the other, and it was cool.
Rad.
I did a Long Way to the Top with Jack Black, and it was cool. Did a song with Fred Armisen, and yeah, the whole
talk about, and you rehearsed with all those folks
all those guys
as well.
For 2 days at SIR. It was the full. I went down there. I had 4 AC30s for me, and they put them on stage as if I was using them, so it looked like I had this Brian May stack of AC30s, and even though one was only working, but it was like I could get used to this. Having everything.
Your last 2 trips to LA, if someone were to be following you around with a camera, because at our rehearsal there was also that AC/DC thing, and it was like Slayer, Anthrax, fucking Black Crowes, all these people.
Yeah. I was a little starstruck when Gorman walked in the room a little bit. I was like, oh, but it was just like normal rehearsal I have at my place on Western that you come to. It was like we're all hanging out chatting and stuff. It was the same dirty old,
except that they're people you've been listening to for most of your life.
Exactly. And everyone's at the top of that. Well, listening to that AC/DC band was just like, they were on fire. I was like, oh my God,
Remember I showed you those guitars, Rock and Roll Relics?
Yeah.
Do you know the rhythm guitar player in that band, Billy Rowe, is the guy that makes those guitars? I
did not know that.
He makes those guitars.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He was great.
Knowledge is power.
He was kind of I don't know the story of that tribute. I think they've been doing that for many years, the way Halloween's been playing. They've been doing a once a year type of a gig. But he had the Malcolm stuff down. I don't know. I didn't know if it was a relic guitar. He made that, but it looked like the Malcolm Gretsch, and he played just solid. And they were just shit tight, and it was good. It was cool. And Bill Burr was funny. It was funny. It was a comedy show for an hour, and then just turned into Power Age era AC/DC, which is that and Toys in the Attic are like, that's how I learned to play guitar. I literally took the needle on, but I would put on Sweet Emotion because that was a key of A, and that was how I tuned my A string too, because I knew that was A.
Right.
Someone told me that. So
that was your tuner.
That was my tuner. And I
440.
That and Cheap Trick Heaven Tonight and all those songs, and I don't know.
At that Hollywood Bowl show, did you have any, was there ever a spotlight moment where it was like, boom, ksh, look, it's Timmy.
First note. I started
First note of the show?
First note of the show was a spotlight on me. And I walked to the front of the stage, and I had 1, 2, 3, 4, and I started. It's Only Rock and Roll. I did that riff with Cindy. Started, and Cindy just joined in. So that was pretty cool. Mike gave me all the leads. He gave me all the stuff to do. And I got to do the solo.
The hairs on my arms just stood up.
That's pretty cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I didn't know how I was going to do it, and I didn't think about it. I did a good job of not overthinking stuff. And when I get on stage, we did our thing. They introduced everybody. Went over, put the guitar on my neck, and it kind of got quiet all of a sudden. It was the Greek. It wasn't the Hollywood. It was a Greek theater, and it was like, and it was, sunny all day. We were there from like 9 in the morning. It was a long day. And it's 9 p.m. We finally hit the stage. The sun is going down, and it was dark. And so the spotlight thing was cool. And instead of starting it, I just like walked up to the front, and I walked up, looked at Cindy. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and just hit it. And it was just that's where the show went. And I had another moment with there wasn't a lot of leads to do. I did the we have that in that song. There's the solo, that's the bagpipes, and
Right.
Roger did that on the keys, and I kind of doubled that on guitar. And then we did Modern Love with Annie from we did Ashes to Ashes,
Mm-hmm.
and both those songs are kind of difficult, and we did Modern Love. We didn't have sax, so they wanted me to do a solo, so I got to do a big solo where the sax solo was. So I just
Yeah.
kind of tried to figure out how would Ronson do this, so I did it that thing. So it was fun. But yeah,
Let me
rehearsals-
just say, let's be honest, McCready is a capable guitar player.
he's insane. He's amazing. I don't take. Yeah, he's incredible.
And what it feels like what a good friend to invite you to be
Yeah.
a part of that. And that's not, and like, not to diminish like what you have to offer, because you have a ton to offer, but also like no one in that room there knew who you were,
Yeah.
and you knew who everyone was.
Yeah.
Right?
That's exactly how it was. So I had to that's where I was kind of shocked when I was driving there. I was a little tighter than I thought, because I know I can play, I know my skill, but it was like, oh, this is and I've also a huge fan of Cindy, and I've met Stefan before. I never met Roger Manning. And then all of a sudden I knew I'd be meeting all these people, and Will Ferrell's there. And I'm just like, oh, geez, this is just, Keanu. Keanu was more nervous than anybody there. He was so
Right.
nice. He was the sweetest guy, but he was really nervous playing.
Right.
He just was. So then you realize we're all the same. We all have our,
Yeah.
doesn't matter what you've been through and what you're doing. You still have you're still with new people you never met, playing music and it's an intimate thing, playing a song and connecting musically, and you're vulnerable and you're open and you're trying to work it together. If you're doing it well, you're trying to, it's become a unit.
My
And-
mom's best friend, Squirrely Shirley, taught me something when I was a kid. She taught me a lot of shit that I
Squirrely.
that I shouldn't have known.
Yeah.
But this was a very valuable one, and I still use it to this day. If someone is in your shit, for whatever reason, whether it's bad or you're intimidated or whatever,
Mhm.
like there's something where you're not able to be on a level with them,
Uh-huh.
imagine them on the toilet. That's what she taught me.
Wow.
And I use that. That is a powerful tool that I use to this day. If someone is like kind of
Yeah.
in my head,
Yeah.
you might catch me looking at someone funny. And that's what I'm doing. I'm like looking at them, trying to imagine them, working it out.
I don't
And it works, because that is,
Yeah.
everyone does it.
Like I said, and that experience was really, and Mike gives me these, I've been able to do a whole bunch of different projects with Mike, and he, it's so fun playing with him, and we spend half our time not even talking about rock and roll, talking about comics we love comedy, and we love books, and I think I give him maybe I'm kind of a security blanket for him, because I know I'm good at doing these types of gigs, and he's seen me do the Beatles thing, and
Sure.
I play with him for 20 years doing the Flight to Mars gig. And I know the songs, and I'm good at learning the arrangements and the two guitar. I learned both parts, and he just wants to, and his role in that is to kind of, anyways, I helped him kind of put the thing together. So I don't know. It was super fun. And it gave me the confidence when Duff called to like go on Kimmel. I'm like, I got this,
Yeah, of course.
And it was kind of, I hate to say it, but it was easy. You made it easy. Duff made it easy. The band was great, and we just kind of, it was casual,
Well, the good thing is we only had to play one song.
We only play one, and yeah, you're right. But it was like we get there.
I did have terrible,
we had the room for a day.
terrible rehearsals.
We had the room for a day, for a full, 12 hours a day. We use it for 45 minutes,
Right.
We spent more time setting up.
Duff
Jamie
was
and I-
like, all right, well, it sounds pretty good.
yeah. Well,
And
that
I was
first
like,
take,
I want to go over it 100 times.
No,
He's like,
I know you and Shooter. This is the first time well, it isn't your first time playing the song. You learned it before, but Jamie and I played on the record.
Sure.
So there was a certain element of ownership of your part. And
Yeah.
I remember that first time we played. It was literally click, 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 Jamie, and we just flew into that song, and it was I thought we did a pretty great version that first take. And look on Duff's face was just like, okay, we're good,
Yeah.
like we can fine tune some stuff, but we're good. And it was cool, and you and I working on vocals for the Easy Street show really helped for that, so it felt good, and it was nervous doing it. You don't want to fall on your face. You don't want to be the guy to like, we got to do it again, Tim, screw up the bridge or whatever. You don't want to be that guy ever. But
I've gotten that look from Duff before. Duff, if you lay an egg.
I've never seen him make a bad note. That's what it's.
So Duff?
Duff, yeah.
Oh, he'll lay an egg occasionally, and he'll be the first to be like, eh. But doesn't matter. I've laid plenty of eggs on stage with him.
Yeah.
But I never want to be the guy that lays an egg and gets the look. I think my camera's about to die. That's all right.
Want to check it? But yeah. No, I just, I actually hit a little, I don't think I made a bad, I pretty much was straight on for the whole thing, for all the rehearsals. And then we even sound check, it was killer. And then we go do blocking where you kind of like sound check, but it's for the video. And I remember going to the bridge and I had to do that weird D chord where your thumb covers and I hit it. It wasn't like I didn't know the chord. I just didn't grip it because I was rocking out.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was just little, because I was rocking out because I knew we weren't recording it, and I missed it, so it rang out in a much shittier way. And he goes, "We got to have that." I'm like, "I got it." Yeah. And I remember at soundcheck, and he didn't say it in a bad way. It's right. He needed it, and I felt dumb, but in a way, I'm glad that happened because I kind of needed. Yeah, okay, we don't have to rock. Just make sure you're there. But you also want to play. I like to move around. I like to play get my body into it and do my thing. And yeah, that was a special night. It was a special few days with you doing that. It was cool. And I hope there's more stuff like that, You never know.
I think that we'll be able to do plenty of fun things.
Yep. Is that it? The done?
No, it's close. What can you read that? What does it say?
It says, you guys are talking too much.
It says you guys are dinglings.
Space on memory card,
slot one. Oh wow. Great.
Anyway, but yeah, no, Duff has been super it just, like I say, I'm just honored he's given me this opportunity to do this stuff, and he's been really sweet and doing all the press and everything, and like I say, the record sounds great. I mean, he really knocked it out of the park. I heard that stuff. I recorded some of that stuff 3 years ago. I kind of forgot about a couple of them. Like, oh my God, I forgot about that. So it was really that first day it came out. I was doing that show in LA, and he called me at 11 at night. He was in Edmonton. He was in somewhere.
Right.
And they were doing those extra shows with GNR, and he was just like, record's out. God, did you have it? I go, yeah, I just downloaded it. It was a Thursday. It came out on a Friday. It was 9 p.m. I downloaded it, and we talked for like 2 hours. He goes, you and I should be on the road right now. And I was like, so now it's going to be a year later, but we'll be doing it. So anyways, and you and I get to connect finally. So
we're going to have an awesome fall.
Yeah.
We're going to see a lot of each other this summer. I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be great, my friend. Cool.
What about you've teased the idea of making some music of your own. What do you think that looks like?
Well, I think I'd like to do like a single. I want to do something, a single EP. I don't want to like bite off like I'm doing my own album, and maybe it'll turn into that once I kind of get it rolling. But I want something that's kind of my aesthetic, that's mine. Whether I'm singing lead, I think that's been my fear, which is I should get over the fear and just I can get a singer, right, but songs that I write, and I've got plenty of little riffs. I always come with these great riffs, but it's just kind of putting them together in a song. And there was a period there through COVID, Musburger and I were just jamming. He was in my bubble. We had got a practice room during that time frame because all the bands were leaving this one space, and we just snagged it for cheap.
Right.
And we've held on to it since then. And I don't know, just coming up with riff after riff. And it's just a matter of just kind of putting them together. And he would be like, "What's that? What's that?" I go, "I'm just making it up, dude." So it's a matter of just doing that and getting, got a mutual friend, Jeff Fielder. I've talked to him about he's come over. We've already recorded a few things. So it's a matter of just getting the time together and
Is there anything that Fielder can't do?
No. He plays drums.
Maybe he can't play horns.
Yeah. He's shitty on horns.
Thank God.
No. Yeah, he's good. But no, I'd like to do that. That's something I'd like to, maybe say no to a few kind of side projects and just kind of focus on my thing. That's one of the things I miss about Embers was having a creative band where it's your thing. And then you could kind of escape into doing a Queen night or doing the Beatles thing. And then you come back to your band a month later and kind of rejuvenated. But when you're just doing cover stuff and Gun for Hire, you kind of has felt it can be, I don't want to say it's hard. I'm really lucky and honored to be able to do it, but it just gets with a day job, it wears sometimes. It's like part of it, half of the year, I feel like it's a career music. I'm doing it another half of the year. I'm like, oh, thank God I have a job. It's like,
right.
So
that's the pendulum.
It's that swing, your swing you're doing. But yeah, I'm hoping to kind of get I'm hoping this summer is some sun and some biking, some hiking, and some playing guitar and some writing and some creative music, and then working on with you on getting a shit hot band together for Duff and getting ready for a really fun fall. But maybe at the end of it, I've got a single to put out. Whether I think in my head maybe I would sing one song and get someone I admire, singer I admire, to kind of do a B-side or something and start there.
Well, I will look forward to that.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I hope I get something rolling in that department. I got some ideas. So, anyways, what about you? You're going out.
Oh, well, I'll be in Vegas when this comes out, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think about starting a band with a drummer and 2 bass players.
2 bass players?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
And have it be this sort of like dirgy pop music, like Failure or something.
Yeah.
Like a lot of effects, probably kind of weird.
Got it.
I don't know how to do roots music.
You do? Yeah, I'm seeing you in Long Winters are rootsy. And
it's like when I play natural, I went through such a thing where I was deep down the Zappa and fucking Idiot Flesh and
got it.
And just like improv music, and I never got good at any of it, but I also never learned a Tom Petty song and studied it and sat with it. So it's weird. Like I have a moderate technical ability, but
my whole world is learning Tom Petty songs and figuring that.
Like, well, no, it
that's been
really
my
well
guy.
It's
been like it's the mix and the mics. It's the Mike Campbell and Mick Taylor and Mick Ronson and it's like that's been my Mike McCready. These are all these guys but it was Mike Campbell's one of those top guys for me.
He's so good.
He's so good, but it's playing for the song. It's a unit. It's that passion. I have such a passion for being in a band. I love the fact that I've been able to kind of be a Gun for Hire and get hired to do some cool guitar stuff and expand on being a lead guitar player and doing all that stuff. But it's only fun in a band thing. Like I love being in a great band. I love seeing a great band, a live band. Now recording that band, the way you record a band is different.
Right.
And that's the art of, recording is a different art than
outside of like Blow by Blow. Is there any instrumental guitar music that you like?
Instrumental?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But again, it all goes back to kind of, I guess not. I don't know. It's like I consider those long Zeppelin songs or Who numbers that are in music and their music. No, it's all singer. It's all about rock and roll for me. It's all been rock and roll and Beatles and the Stones, and I'm sure I'm missing something.
Faces.
The Faces are right there. Humble Pie. Small Faces too. I'm big into Steve Marriott these days, and always have been. But it's just
what a dude.
Yeah. So, yeah. No. It's just like again. I'm excited to get a band with you going for Duff, and again, it's an art. A good band is an art, and you listen to each other, and gel, and everyone has their time to shine. And
It's funny, you change one component and everything feels different.
Completely. I just went through that with one of the last bands I was in. It was like, whoa, it has nothing to do with technical skill. It's chemistry. It's can you hang?
Right.
Can you talk shop together? Can you talk music, books you read? It's like a partner, you know. It's a stupid cliche about it's like a relationship. You have four, and it's and you're all growing in different ways. You're all growing at different times. You all need things at different times from each other, and it's this big up and down. I forget 4 or 5 members doing this in their lives, you know, and it's amazing. You can get anything. It's amazing. We can make it to practice some months, you know. It's like, but as you get older, and it's like I'm looking around. I just had to get practice tonight with 9 people in the band in this tiny room. Yeah, and it was super fun, and we killed it. And I just a ball. But it's like how and I'm looking at our calendars. Like it took us forever just to get most of our rehearsals. There's only half of us there, you know.
9 people.
Yeah. And then back in the day, we had nothing but time, but we had no money for rehearsal space, you know.
Right.
I didn't have a guitar, you know. It's
like, hey, let's find a drummer that has lives in a house with a basement.
Yeah. Is he good? Doesn't matter. Like,
right. I don't know. He's got a room.
Got a room, yeah. So, yeah. So this summer is just that, and I got some gigs with Martin Fevier, his band, the Boogie Army, which is just a fun cover band doing a bunch of old Bowie.
It's called Boogie Army now.
Called the Boogie Army. Yeah, Martin Fevier.
He changed the name.
No, it's been the same. Is it?
I thought it was called Bowie Rex.
Bowie Rex and the Boogie Army. Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, it's my fault. Bowie Rex and his Boogie Army is the name. That's what the new T-shirts have, and it's Dave Dieter on guitar, myself on guitar, Jeremy Lightfoot, Mike Musburger, my dearest friends, playing drums, and Suffragette Sisters, great singers, and some just being backup, and a couple of them sing lead also.
Dietz is an under-celebrated guitar player in Seattle, and
he's ridiculously good. He's so good.
He does a thing that I have no idea how to do it. I guitar teched for him his last few shows with the Presidents.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he played a fucking blackface twin blasting.
Right.
Like that was his amp.
Yeah. Probably no effects or anything, just that.
He had a big muff.
Yeah.
And a Phase 90.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. And it was a fucking beautiful racket.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. Some weird Telecaster neck thing with a bolted Telecaster neck bolted onto a Les Paul body.
Wow. I didn't
it was why like
yeah. And was that his main rig back then and doing the President stuff?
At the end of it all.
Got it. Well, I've been playing with him, and we're just doing classic, you know, rock stuff and Patti Smith songs and Bowie, and we're doing Ballroom Blitz, which is one of the funnest things I've ever. I've always wanted to play that song, and it's like it's not a hard song, but just like to do it well with that group of people like that is killer. And he's supposed playing 6-string. He's phenomenal guitar player, and we complement each other pretty good. So it's a good mix. We're all different enough, and our tones are different, and it's cool. And
That's
Martin's
fun.
Super fun to play with, and it's funny. He's always been my producer for Duff is how I've known, and sound man galore, and now he's just seeing him front this thing, and he's just a great singer. And it's really fun.
He loves to be on stage.
Yes, he does. Yes, yes, he does.
And he's good at it.
Yeah, it's pretty meticulous practices too. It's like being in the, in the studio is always got, which is good because like at the end of it, you're like, oh wow, I'm ready. You know,
it's good now.
Yeah, we're doing a few Prince songs and stuff. I'm doing a Heart song, and it's cool.
What Heart song?
Heart. Oh my God, did I say Heart? I meant to say Heart of Glass. What am I thinking? We're doing a Blondie song, Heart of Glass. Just slip of the tongue. So.
Does he sing it?
No, the girl, Rihanna sings it. So,
got it.
And she does a Patti Smith song. We do a Because the Night. We're kind of all over the map with stuff. We're doing some new stuff, Harry Styles song. Like we're doing glam from all era. You know, we're doing a Cars song, which really isn't glam, but Dave kills the solo. So we let him do a Eastman tune. You know, so which is another one of those underrated. I don't think that guy, every solo that guy does, Elliot Easton, is just perfect in my book.
Well, he's like the furthest thing from a new wave guitar player.
Right, in a new wave band. That's
Like he's got all that weird. There's like there's a Beatles reference in one of the songs.
Totally.
What is that?
He bends the way that Harrison, because I did that Beatles thing. I'm going to learn all those. Yeah. The way he bends is different. He'll start the solo. I don't know how he does it. He's bent all the way a half step up, and then he hits the string and pulls it down. That's how he'll start a solo. And it sounds like he's hitting the string twice, but and he'll do that in it's weird. And Easton's got a bit of that, and he's got that
like Americana country thing.
Yeah, but he's one of those guys that's those perfectly written solos, like
I've heard he's a pretty accessible guy too.
Yeah, I don't know much about. I just recently started going a bit deep on the Cars recently. I mean, I loved them back in the day. I remember I had Candy. I was like, I couldn't stop playing it back then. It was weird because I was into Van Halen, but then I loved his guitar playing. So it was just like, it was just
fair.
So, yeah.
Ow.
Yeah.
I want to wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up.
I'm so happy that you're back. I mean,
yeah.
Funny enough, I think that we didn't catch the last couple minutes of the video because I ran out of space on the cards like a dum-dum, but we captured the audio.
Well,
that's what people really listen to. People, you know what? It's hard to keep people's attention for 90 minutes of video.
Oh, Jesus. It's been 90 minutes of me.
But I appreciate you coming and hanging out.
I appreciate you asking me. This has been really fun. And
I'm really happy to be back in Seattle, and a lot of it is just like whatever. As being in the vicinity of old friends, it's hard to get together when you're old. People are fucking doing old people shit. They got their kids or their grandkids are doing this and that. I don't got worries like that. But a lot of it is also like new friendships, new relationships like this. And it's exciting for me, and it feels good, and it feels like home.
When you came back, I remember one of the first, I knew you were in town, or you're coming in town. You came to that Stone, I played, was it last September, at that Chris Friel's Rolling Stones extravaganza thing, and they had me up for a few songs, and I actually sang lead on one of them, and you and I just snuck off into the corner and talked for 3 hours. I talked to you about the Duff. You asked me how the record was. I think the record wasn't out yet.
Right.
Am I correct? I was like, hey, man, I can't wait for you to hear that. I'm pretty proud of it. And we chatted, and I remember that night going, we're going to play together. And I just had this feeling that, and I was just, and again, we've known each other, we give each other hugs. Each other. We didn't really know, and we spent some time playing in a room together. It's a different set of little, I don't sound, that's the wrong word, but it's intimate playing in a band, playing music together. And to do that is, with someone you admire is been cool. And it's been fun getting to know you last, although it feels like we've known each other, but because we know so many close friends of ours. So
there's plenty of more shitty things you can learn about me, pal.
We talk about being old. It's like this whole weekend. The last 2 weekends have been filled with all my friends playing these great shows. And I kind of snuck away last weekend. I need to get out of town, and I missed some cool stuff. And this weekend I had some cool things, and you and I had rehearsals and this and that. I don't want to go out.
Right. That's old people shit.
Old people shit. I play it all weekend. I work, and I just don't.
Right.
You get that, and you go for a bike ride, and you go for a hike, and you're just kind of go home. When you play guitar, I'm like, I don't want to go out at 7. I'm going to go down park, and that sounds terrible.
Well, I missed all of Sean Bates's show the other night, except for the last song, because I couldn't fucking fathom that a show would start before 9, and I thought I was early. I showed up at 8:40.
I was gonna go to that show, and because I had a birthday dinner for my best friend, and we were hanging out, and I figured, okay, it's at 6. I might be able to make it down there, and I'm talking. Our dinner didn't come till like 9, so it didn't matter. But I was texting Muzz, and he was just like, "Oh, we're on it. We're playing like early." I'm like, "You're not really gonna play at 8, and which I kind of dig though. I mean, if I was in that band, I'd be like, packed house at 8 p.m.
This is great. At 7, sure.
Yeah, well, that was the old LA thing back in the day, when you would showcase down in Los Angeles. I remember Shadow was down there, and everything Duff told me, he goes, we should play like Coconut Teaser at like 6 p.m. on a Friday, whatever, and shows would be done by 7 or 8. I'm like, I like that.
Well,
It's a different world, but
they're not showcasing any 50-somethings anymore.
no, right? 50. Yeah, almost 50. I'm gonna be 57 by the time we go on the road this fall. My mom was saying something funny about that. She's like, "Wouldn't it be funny, like if you like you're now almost 60-year-old and you like just now all of a sudden like the Black Crows call you out of nowhere?" Like I'm like, Mom, I'm playing Kimmel next month. She's like, really? It was like she said that to me. But the conversation when I was going to tell her I was going to do Kimmel, and she was listening to the record and the Duff record, and she goes, it was just a funny comment. Like, after all these years, maybe you'll get this. Like,
right?
I don't know. I don't care. I just
second wave.
I'm just happy to get experiences and get cool gigs and keep doing it. And maybe there'll be a springboard, and someone will see me, and I can get another couple weeks with somebody else if someone wants my playing or whatever. And
that's what it's about.
Yeah, and again, it's just the community. A band is a commune, and just meeting people, and that's the thing. That's what I really love.
Maybe you could get a gig in Megadeth.
I don't know. I don't know if I can do Megadeth. It's like, but yeah, maybe. That'd be I guess like if I learned Brian May songs, I could probably figure out how to do some Megadeth songs. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know if I know that picking. I don't know if I'm good at.
I can't.
I was never in. I respect the hell out of that side of that metal. I was
into it, and I can't do it. I
was never really into it. Not that I don't admire some of it, and I like some, but I never learned it. I never. No. I was already Steve Marriott.
Yeah.
I was already listening to, Freddie King records, and I was going backwards. Baby. I was listening to, doing the music archaeology thing where you're, down the rabbit hole. Who did this person? Who produced this guy in the '60s, right. And this person, and that's the fun stuff. Which we didn't really get into today because I wouldn't stop talking. So, anyway, thank you for having me again. Buddy, cheers, buddy.
Give it to me.
Pleasure.